Now let's say you do a chromatography using known substances today on day 1, and then on day 2 you do the chromatography of a mixture. Now these are on 2 different chromatograms, and putting the chromatograms together makes you still unsure whether the 2 spots are at the same distance away from the baseline. So then the use of the RF value becomes important, and it is a numerical analysis, a quantitative analysis of a chromatogram that allows us to know if 2 substances are the same. If 2 substances have the same RF value, if RF value is the same for 2 different spots, it means they are the same substances. So not similar, but same substances have the same RF value. And every single substance has a different RF value. So for example, aspirin would have a specific RF value. So if one person in Mauritius is analyzing aspirin, another person in the UK is analyzing aspirin, when they compare the RF values should be similar. So what is it? It is a ratio of the distance traveled by the substance or by the spot to the distance traveled by the solvent. Remember when we were talking about the solvent front? So the solvent front is the distance traveled by the solvent. And so the RF value is going to be a ratio, the distance traveled by the spot to the distance traveled by the solvent. So if that is distance x and that is distance y, then RF value is going to be given by x over y. Now the RF value, there is one way to know that your RF value is correct. RF value should always be less than 1. It cannot be more than 1. If your RF value is greater than 1, means it's wrong, because the value of x is always going to be smaller than the value of y. The spot is always going to be below the level traveled by the solvent. The substance cannot move away from the solvent, because remember, the substance is moving because it's forming bonds with the solvent. Now, how to measure the distance when you have a spot? The idea is that you look at you look for the center of the spot. So at the center of the spot, you're going to draw a line here, and when you're measuring, you will be measuring the distance from the baseline to the center of the spots. So that would be x, and from the baseline to the level of the solvent, that would be y. So that would be the RF value for this spot here. So in this example, there are graduations that are already given. So that would be the graduation on the baseline. So here for the spot, let's label this spot 1. So RF value for spot 1 is going to be, so there's 1, 2, so 2 divisions divided by the total division is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2 over 5, which gives you a value of 0.4. And if you calculate the RF value of spot 2, let's say, now if you're not given graduations, then you will have to use your ruler. So similarly, you draw the baseline, you find the center of the spot, you draw a line from the center of the spot. So if you're not given the graduations on the paper, you use your ruler. So you will have your ruler here, you put your ruler here, so you see that, make sure you're taking the distance well. So this is 7.6. This is on the ruler that I'm using. When you'll be doing it on paper, it's going to be, the measurements will be different. And you measure the distance from the solvent front. So I'm going to draw a line here. So it's going to be from the baseline to the solvent front now, and I measure the distance here. So I have 9.6. So 7.6 over 9.6, you compute it. Now, because this is, let's say this is in centimeter, this is in centimeter, centimeter cross out, so our value has no units. So this gives me 0.79, so almost 0.8. So let me keep 0.8 here. Now just to check, let's calculate the RF value of spot 1 again using the ruler, just to see if we get the same value. So we have the ruler, so we're going to draw the line here, find the center of the spot, draw the line. So I have 3.8 divided by the distance to the solvent front is going to be the same, 9.6. So this gives me a value of 0.396. So this is almost equal to 0.4. So as you see, the values are the same whether you use your ruler or you use proportions. Okay, so in case you're not given any graduations on the paper, you can still use your ruler for the measurements.